Hello and welcome to Chess Book Reviews 143. Just to welcome a new member, Mr. Vince Palmer, who's signed up, and thank you very much. Just having a banana. Thank you very much, Vince. And hope you stay with us for some time. Now, before we go anywhere, I've got a copy of this. This is a very mediocre book, in my opinion. Walter Tevis is dead, long dead, I think. And as we all know, it's shot to fame because of the television program, which was made out of it, which is, this is in 1983, so it's over 40 years ago, and I must have read it about 40 years ago. And in parts, it does have its redeeming features, but it really isn't a book. There's a quote from my favorite poet, Yeats, "From the long-legged fly, that the topless towers be burnt, and men recall that face, more gently, if move you must, in this lonely place. She thinks, part woman, 3 parts a child, that nobody looks, her feet. Practice a tinker shuffle, pick up on a street, like a long-legged fly upon the stream. Her mind moves upon silence." Now, I know I didn't read that very well, even by the standards of badly read poetry. There's an introduction mentioning Fisher, Spassky, and Karpov. And this is the author's note. Well, obviously, the picture on the cover is nothing to do with the author. It's Beth Harmon in the film. "More exciting than any thriller I've seen lately. More than that, beautifully written. Martin Kruth Smith." There we are. Well, anyway, it's not something on which I need to dwell. It's a W and N. Weidenfeld and Nicholson. There you go. Now, thanks to Grandmaster Danny Gormally for inadvertently, I'll just have some more of my banana because I can see it there rotting, inadvertently encouraging me to look at some books. One published by New in Chess. There it is, The Reliable Past. And here's Sallow Floor, looking like a gangster, with Keres, who doesn't look like a gangster, but looks like Keres. Looks like somebody who, like me, spends a lot of time indoors and very pale as a result. Here is the book on Korchnoi, which is published by Elkin Ruby. Which is published by Elkin Ruby, called Evildoer, Half a Century with Victor Korchnoi. Grandmaster Gormally asks whether these people were paid. I would think not, but if they ask for any payment, in view of recent successes of these publications, and they are successful, then I think that would be a very different matter, but one which we dealt with privately. Here's a book on Bronstein, which is the same, I think the same publisher. Yes, I don't even have it. It's very pale, my old eyes. See the logo at the top? There we are. And here's David throwing arrows at Botvinnik. The forward by Gary Kasparov. Well, how about that then? But we'll come on to that in a minute. And finally, Smyslov on the couch. Sounds disgusting. Vasily. We will start with this. Vasily Smyslov was world champion for a very short time. In 1957, in fact, he had a plus score in world championship matches, in the individual games of the world championship matches over his 3 battles with Botvinnik. It says his third full-length memoir about one of the world's greatest ever chess players, Gena Sosonko, who was originally from Russia, but came across to Holland, portrays a warm picture of the 7th world champion, Vasily Smyslov, with whom he spent considerable time over the board during tournaments and while meeting at each other's houses. Smyslov, the man, was far more balanced and spiritual than most of his contemporaries. Yes, he was. Capable of a relaxed and yet principled approach to life. Unlike most top players, he's able to reach a very high standard of his chosen hobby. I don't know whether Smyslov would have regarded chess as a hobby. In his case, classical singing, even while playing chess at the very top. I don't mean that he broke into an aria when he was playing at Tilburg 83, but anyway, his natural inclination to see the best in people was, however, challenged as the world around him underwent fundamental changes late in his life. That's true. The new freedoms of the post-Soviet era also engendered one of the most extraordinary polemics in chess history. David Bronstein's Throne Games of Zurich 2001, bringing accusations against Smyslov that forced him to defend himself at the age of 80, by which time many witnesses to the event in Zurich were already deceased in his book. In this book, Gena focuses particularly on that polemic, placing it in a wider context of the so-called Soviet chess school, which there was, of course, and asks whether Bronstein's hurt and accusations were justified. There you are, there's that. This is an Elkin Ruby, and it is, I was about to say it doesn't have any games in it, but no, I've just found one immediately. 199 pages. When he adjusted the glasses that had slipped down his nose and flashed his wonderful smile, "You'll keep it straight, Gena. You'll put it all in there. You won't forget anything." "I won't forget, Vasily Vasilevich." And we won't forget either, Smyslov. How could we? How could we? I'm just looking through to see what photographs and games there are. I found one game so far with some notes. Lots of photographs, all of them a bit small. I'll show you. Here we are. Smyslov with his missus. Kasparov getting to his feet. Botvinnik in deep thought with Tal. Karpov. And Smyslov the other side. Playing Fischer. He had high regard for Bobby. I know when Fischer was playing in the Havana, in the Capablanca Memorial in 1965. Smyslov contacted him. His English was never very good, but he did what he could, and that counts for a lot, doesn't it? More photographs, all of them as small as postage stamps, but nevertheless, with his dad, Smyslov. Smyslov's father was a very strong amateur player. Not grandmaster, but he was strong. He would have engendered the right spirits towards the young Vasily. His interest in religion trumped everything else, as so often happens, especially when the end of one's path through life comes into view. He claimed, admittedly, that he had started believing in God at a young age. It's impossible to verify that claim, but he was wearing a gold cross and a gold chain when we first met. Whenever one of our talks and one of our walks took us past the church, he'd stop in, light a candle, and cross himself before the icons. we developed a unique, light-hearted tone that we could demonstrate at great length. There you are, published by Elkin Ruby. And now, mentioned by me before, I think, The Rise and Fall of David Bronstein. David, unlike Vasily Smyslov, was a very outspoken person. Unlike any other world-class player, I did actually meet him a couple of times, quite by chance, once at Hastings and once in London at Sands Dickinson's bookshop, just off Bond Street. David was an old man by then and was not going to suddenly rear up and become world chess champion. And it's not difficult to see that anybody whose career ends might feel a little bit upset about things and raw and wish suddenly it was 1950 again when it was 1993 or whatever. Until Botvinnik wrote his article in 1939 on preparing for chess tournaments, the game was treated as an art. Yet chess became a tool for educating the masses of the USSR. The Soviet Chess School was a research project, and although it was established back in the 1920s, it really took off in 1945 when we scored a crushing win in the match against the USA. That's right, they did. They went across the war over. A pleasant gesture in that regard. And the Americans put up a fairly tough team. I mean, Frank Marshall was too old to play by them, but they had Reshevsky and Fine, and they got Arnold Denker, who won the tournament inappropriate enough, their championship, inappropriate enough Hollywood. They got absolutely slaughtered by Botvinnik on top board. But that's not really what we're here to discuss. Here's David, the bald one, playing Petrosian. It's not the bald one. He said to me, I gave my hair. It went like this. Well, Bronstein was an absolute chatterbox, and he would speak in parody or soliloquy or what you had. There's almost no other theatrical word which I can append, which wouldn't have covered David. This book has got 271 pages. I think it's currently being reduced by Chess and Bridge. So if you want a copy, and it was very expensive when I bought it, I didn't get sent it for review, then what I recommend you do is give them a ring or look in the latest chess magazine and it will tell you all about it. I could go on and on and on about David Bronstein, but I won't. Here's a rather unkind title, to say the least. Korchnoi is now dead. Half a century of Victor Korchnoi, the evil doer. Was he an evil doer? This is a much bigger book. 314 pages. There's a picture of Victor's coffin, presumably, with tributes and a candle and a wreath. And a photograph of the old Grandmaster. Lots of photographs. Korchnoi. With that way of I can't impersonate it. I was about to try, but I can't do it. With his girlfriend that became his wife, Petra Leverik, and Kasparov. and Amsterdam 76 with Tony Miles there. Tony looking relaxed and happy, as well he might. Lots and lots of photographs. Korchnoi, for the record, came to the West in political asylum. He registered through Switzerland and played for them internationally. Though he was through and through. Korchnoi was born into Leningrad into a Jewish family in 23rd March 1931. In other words, a long time before the Second World War, let alone anything else. Evildoer by Sosonko. If you see it, get it. Now, this is a book published some time ago, and it bears digging up now. I showed you it earlier, of course. Some photos. Larson. And the other. Timon at the top. Irva and I talking about 1975 and the crowning. Each gave a simultaneous display in Groningen. I remember that day especially well. The professor just returned from Tallinn, where he attended the funeral of Paul Keres, his friend and opponent from pre-war times. We will never have that again, will we? That sense of camaraderie. It's lost now. Dare I say it, perhaps the wars, and I use the word deliberately in the plural, brought some people, though not all, of course, to their senses. There's Karpov with the famous Bacherinsky. There's Karpov with a microphone. This deals with all aspects of players' lives. Yusupov. He pays tribute to Tarash and Lusikov. Down shaking hands with Bagirov. That's the one in the white shirt. Before he lost his looks. He's a pretty dashing chap in the 60s. So is his chess. There's Tony Miles with his milk, lying prostrate because he'd hurt his back. Believe you me, that's no sham. No sham at all. An article about a chapter, The Cat That Walked by Himself, Tony Miles. Ode to a Free Man by Garry Kasparov. It is no secret that many well-known chess players, after leaving for the West in Soviet times, were able to achieve far more than they had in their mother country. The most striking example being Korchnoi. Well, Gary would know, wouldn't he? This was published in 2003 by New in Chess, the Dutch lot. I still recommend it. I hope you'll look it out. Have a look through. Thank you very much. This has been Chess Book Reviews 143. Thank you for your time.